85 Act of Kindness, Cashier's touching gesture revealed as life-changing transformation for all. In the charming little town of Maple Grove, the sun shone brightly on a crisp Tuesday afternoon. Jessie, a resilient single mother in her early 30s, clutched her grocery list tightly. She had spent all week working double shifts, her bones fatigued but her spirit unbroken. As she stepped into the Maple Grove market, the familiar scent of fresh bread and ripe fruit filled her lungs, momentarily lifting the weight of her worries. But today felt different. Today, she was about to experience a moment that would change everything. With her two kids, 10-year-old Lily and 8-year-old Ethan, waiting at home, Jessie's heart sank as she counted her coins. She could already feel the tightness in her chest. Money was always tight, and every decision felt heavy with consequence. As she reached for the simple box of cereal that Lily and Ethan loved, their morning delight, she hesitated. The price tag flashed like a neon sign, 85 cents short. The embarrassment hit her like a punch to the gut. She couldn't bear the thought of putting it back. Just as she prepared to retreat, Mr. Thompson, the elderly cashier with kind eyes and a grizzled beard, caught sight of her distress. "Hey there, Jessie," he said, his voice warm and inviting. "Don't fret. I've got this." With a gentle smile, he reached into his pocket, pulled out the needed change, and placed it on the counter. For a moment, time stood still. Jessie felt tears prick at her eyes. Mr. Thompson's unexpected kindness lit a fire in her heart. This small act felt monumental. As Jessie paid, their conversation unfolded, revealing the depth of Mr. Thompson's own battles. His tales as a war veteran who lost everything resonated deeply. His stories painted vivid images of hope amidst despair. They spoke of struggles that echoed Jessie's own. A connection formed between them, illuminating that kindness transcends age and circumstance. The simple exchange drew curiosity from patrons in line behind her. Whispers of "Did you hear about Jessie?" flitted throughout the market, igniting discussions about community support, shared hardships, and the unseen wounds many carried, but not every resident welcomed this path of understanding. Townspeople voiced concerns at the diner's table about helping those in need, drawing stark lines between hard work and support. Tension brewed, and whispers of doubt crept into the heart of Maple Grove. At the town council meeting, emotions surfaced. Jessie stood at the center, sharing her story and advocating for unity alongside Mr. Thompson. Their voices rose, calling for compassion and a collective effort to uplift one another. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As Jessie and Mr. Thompson's call for kindness echoed off the walls, the crowd felt the weight of her words. Faces shifted from indifference to contemplation, their expressions revealing internal struggles and hidden empathy. Could their community bridge the divide? Could this small act of kindness ripple into something more? The room was thick with uncertainty, but Jessie stood tall, hope radiating from her weary heart. Would Maple Grove choose understanding, or would fear and judgment win out? The air crackled with potential, leaving everyone, including Jessie, hanging on the precipice of change. Jessie clutched the crumpled paper in her hands, her heart racing as she waited for the town council's response. A murmur of voices filled the room, a blend of skepticism and curiosity. She could feel the weight of the community's eyes on her, both unsettled and hopeful. The councilman, a stout man with balding hair and a serious demeanor, leaned forward. "We appreciate your story, Jessie, and Mr. Thompson, but many in this town believe that helping those in need only fosters dependency." Tension silenced the room. Whispers flickered like shadows until Mr. Thompson rose from his seat, his voice steady and resolute. "Every person here has a story," he began, his gaze sweeping across the faces before him. "I've seen hardship. I've been on the edge myself. But each act of kindness, a word, a gesture, a penny, can lift someone out of darkness. His words echoed, striking a chord deep within many hearts. The councilman's brows knitted as he considered Thompson's point. So what do you propose? A charity? A fund? Jessie could see the weariness in the councilman's face. She had to strike now, just as she felt the flame of hope flickering. What about starting small? She suggested, her voice trembling but gaining strength. A community support group. We can share stories, ideas, and help each other navigate our needs. It's not about handouts, it's about lifting each other up. Just like Mr. Thompson did for me. The room remained quiet, the air thick with contemplation. One by one, faces began to soften. Jessie noticed the woman in the back, Mrs. Cleary, who had always kept to herself. The woman looked up, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. I once lost my job, and I didn't know how to ask for help, she admitted, her voice shaky. I was too proud to admit I needed it, just like you, Jessie. Slow murmurs of agreement started to surface. Jessie felt her heart swell as she witnessed an openness begin to form. The councilman nodded slowly, even pondering over the potential of such a group. Maybe there's merit in this, he said. A community of support could lead to better outcomes for everyone. But we'll need more than just words. Before he could finish, Jessie interjected, we could hold weekly meetings, invite those who need support or those willing to give it. We could create a space for everyone, all walks of life. The councilman's expression shifted from doubt to curiosity. And who would lead this? I will, Jessie declared, the weight of responsibility sitting firmly on her shoulders. If I can manage my kids and the struggles I face, then I can help others face theirs. Nods exchanged across the room, a flicker of camaraderie blooming amidst the uncertainty. The councilman smiled for the first time, a hint of admiration revealing itself. As the meeting came to a close, Jessie stepped outside, a rush of adrenaline still coursing through her veins. She felt different, invigorated and inspired. If Maple Grove was shifting towards understanding, then she needed to be at the forefront, lighting the way. I can't believe we might just do this. Ethan pulled at her sleeve, his excitement infectious as he danced on the tips of his shoes. Jessie laughed, we're going to try, buddy. Imagine what we can achieve together. Yet amidst her joy, a question lingered in her mind. Would they really embrace the change she envisioned? As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting warm golden rays over Maple Grove, Jessie felt both energized and apprehensive. Every step towards transformation carried risks. It would require faith, love, and grit. But as she looked out at the town, now painted in vibrant hues, she dared to dream. What would happen if their small act of kindness swelled into a movement of compassion? And as thoughts swirled in her mind, a familiar figure approached, a shadow blending into the twilight. It was Mr. Thompson, a look of pride on his face. You did well today, Jessie. But remember, change takes time and there will be resistance. Are you ready for that? Jessie's breath caught in her throat. In that moment, she realized the true challenge was just beginning. The next few days flew by in a blur of planning and anticipation. Jessie didn't sleep much. She'd wake up with her heart racing, often scribbling notes for the support group on the backs of old receipts. Ethan sometimes found her sprawled across the kitchen table, clutching a pen, surrounded by half-finished cups of coffee, a testament to her determination. Mom, are we really going to have meetings? He asked one morning, stuffing a piece of toast into his mouth. His eyes sparkled with hope. Yes, we are. Jessie responded, beaming at him. We're going to make a difference, buddy. Just wait and see. Yet, as much as she tried to project confidence, self-doubt crept in. She worried about how they would get people to show up, how they would keep the momentum going. Would the very people she wanted to help refuse to come out of their shells? The first meeting day arrived with a mix of excitement and nervous energy that bubbled within her. Jessie set up the community center with folding chairs, a table for refreshments, and a sign that read Community Support Group, You Are Not Alone. She stuffed extra cookies into a bowl, thinking that could help entice people in. Outside, she could hear murmurs as neighbors passed by, their faces undecided. She caught a few familiar faces from the council meeting, Mrs. Cleary and Mr. Thompson, but she also noticed others whispering, glancing sideways. Could they be sharing doubts? As the clock ticked closer to the start time, someone finally pushed through the door. It was Mrs. Cleary. Her eyes flickered with uncertainty, but she stepped inside, and Jessie felt the tightness in her chest loosen just a little. "Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming," Jessie said, her voice slightly louder than she intended. She saw a few more faces enter, shy yet hopeful. The murmurs became softer, almost reverent. "Today is about all of us. It's our chance to share, to listen, and to support." She paused, her heart pounding. "I know, sometimes life feels overwhelming. I've been there and I'm still there in many ways." A few heads nodded in understanding. Jessie felt a rush of warmth. They were connecting, even if it was just the tiniest thread. "I'll start. Just last month, I had a bill I couldn't pay. I felt cornered and alone, but when I reached out, I found help in places I never expected." As she shared her vulnerable moment, others began to open up. Mr. Thompson spoke about losing someone dear to him, and how he learned that it was okay to lean on others. Mrs. Cleary, with her shaky voice, revealed her struggles. By the end of the hour, the room felt alive with electricity. They laughed, cried, and supported each other. As they were about to wrap up, a soft voice spoke from the back. It was a young woman, eyes cast down but her hands trembling with purpose. "I've been watching you all. I thought I was alone, but today I feel like I'm part of something." Tears brimmed in her eyes, and Jessie felt her own heart ache with empathy. The meeting adjourned with plans to meet weekly. Along with laughter and heartfelt stories, a sense of community was forged. For the first time, Jessie felt a glimmer of hope that they could create real change together, but as she gathered her things, a chilling doubt curled in her stomach. She knew that not everyone would be supportive. What if the councilman changed his mind? What if resentment bubbled up from those who believed helping others was pointless? Would they be able to sustain this newfound connection when resistance infiltrated their fragile progress? Shouldering her bag, she glanced outside, the sun setting against the horizon, casting long shadows. Just then, her phone buzzed. A text from Mr. Thompson, a simple message that sent shivers down her spine: "Be ready. There are whispers of unrest. Some aren't happy you're doing this." Jessie's breath hitched. Change was delicate, and she could feel the storm brewing. Would they stand strong together in the face of the unknown? How could they face opposition that might tear them apart? And just like that, next steps loomed ahead, uncertain but necessary. Would she have the strength to protect this budding community? The following days were a whirlwind of emotions for Jessie. She woke with her heart still racing from the meeting, a blend of excitement and anxiety swirling within. Each time she opened her phone, her fingers trembled as she scrolled through messages. The community support group seemed to ignite a spark, but now it teetered on the edge of uncertainty. Ethan noticed her distracted spirit as he poured his cereal one morning. "Mom, do you think they'll really come back?" he asked, peering at her over the rim of his bowl. Jessie forced a bright smile, but doubt lingered beneath. "Of course. They found comfort in the group. They'll want to come again, I know it." Yet, each tick of the clock was a reminder of the upcoming meeting. What if the whispers turned into a loud storm? What if those who opposed her efforts came out to speak against them? She couldn't shake the feeling that the very thing they had built was fragile, and all it would take was one strong gust of bitterness to blow it all away. One afternoon, she ventured to the grocery store, hoping the rhythmic bustle might ease her mind. As she reached the register, an elderly woman ahead of her fumbled with her change, dropping coins on the tiled floor. A few customers behind her sighed impatiently, their eyes rolling. Jessie's heart ached for the woman. Time and time again, life had a way of piling burdens on old shoulders. "Let me help you," Jessie said, kneeling to gather the scattered coins. The woman looked startled but smiled with gratitude. "Thank you, dear. I can be a bit clumsy." As Jessie helped her, she felt a warmth spread through her. A small act of kindness. How powerful it felt. Just like the support group, kindness reminded her that they were all in this together. Once at the register, the cashier, a young man with kind eyes, rang up her items. He glanced at the elderly woman and smiled warmly. "Don't worry. We all drop coins sometimes," he said, his voice light. Just then, the elderly woman dug into her purse and pulled out a crumpled bill, $1, and handed it to the cashier. "For you, dear. A little something for your kindness." "I can't accept this," he said, touched. "It's my job to help. Sometimes, it's nice to receive a little kindness back." She insisted, leaving the cashier momentarily speechless but beaming. Jessie smiled, keenly aware that these moments were what life was about. She paid for her groceries and turned to leave. But as she stepped outside, her phone buzzed again, a message from Mr. Thompson. "Things are escalating. I heard some council members are planning a protest against the group next week. We need to be prepared." The warmth that had enveloped her moments before was ripped away in an instant. Her heart raced. What if the support group, this precious safe space they had cultivated, faced a real threat? Would they have the courage to rise against it? With every step toward home, Jessie felt the weight of responsibility press down on her. Change was never easy, but this was becoming a fight. She had empowered those voices in the room. What would happen if some voices turned against them? Upon entering her home, she found Ethan sitting at the table, his usual gleeful chatter replaced by a furrowed brow. "You okay, Mom?" he asked, sensing her tension. "I'm working on it, buddy," she replied, forcing another smile. But deep down, doubt seeped in. Would their act of kindness be enough to weather the looming storm? As she clasped Ethan's hand, she realized that she had to rally not just her strength, but the strength of the whole community. Together, she whispered, "We can do this." What she didn't expect was the ramifications of opposition that would upend everything they had achieved. Could they rally together in time, or would their newfound connection collapse under pressure? The next few days dragged on, each one heavier than the last. Jessie couldn't focus on anything but the protest looming ahead. Her conversations were punctuated by anxious silences as she listened for support, yet all she heard were her own doubts echoing back. The community she had worked so hard to build now felt like a fragile edifice, ready to crumble under scrutiny. Every night, she lay awake, staring at the shadows on her ceiling, imagining faces that could soon be filled with anger and resistance. She replayed moments from the support group, the hugs, the laughter, the tears of shared stories. Those memories felt like a fragile thread, and she clung to it, hoping it was strong enough to withstand a storm. Finally, the night of the protest arrived. Jessie stood in front of the mirror, smoothing down her shirt as if it could hide her trepidation. Ethan emerged from his room, wearing the t-shirt she had given him, emblazoned with the words, "Together we rise." He looked small, but in his innocence, she found a spark of inspiration. "Are you ready, Mom?" he asked, voice steady. "As ready as I'll ever be," she replied, trying to sound confident for him. As they drove to the community center, the streets felt electric, charged with unspoken tension. Signs of unsolicited support interspersed with those demanding the group shut down. Jessie felt her heart sink. It was one thing to anticipate resistance, another entirely to see it laid out so visibly. Upon arriving, she found a mixture of familiar faces, those who had shared their stories in the safe space of the group. Yet a thick air of fear clung to them. She noticed Mrs. Crenshaw standing alone, clutching a sign that read "Support our voices." Jessie walked over, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Mrs. Crenshaw, are you okay?" Jessie asked softly. "I'm just frightened, dear. What if they come for us?" The old woman's voice trembled, her eyes searching for reassurance. "Together, We can face whatever happens, Jessie offered, though doubt danced in her own heart. As they awaited the start of the meeting, Jessie caught sight of Mr. Thompson approaching, his expression serious but determined. "Jessie," he began, "we have to remember why we're here. Love, support, kindness. That's our strength. Don't forget that." His words settled like a balm on her frayed nerves. They were a community brought together not merely by circumstance but by a commitment to uplift one another. The chairs filled, but Jessie still felt the weight of impending challenge between them. When she finally stood to speak, she sensed every gaze upon her. "Thank you all for coming tonight. I know there are some who feel uncertain." Jessie's voice trembled, but she steeled herself. "But I believe we have something incredible here, a place where voices can be heard without judgment." The murmurs of agreement rolled like waves through the packed room, and for the first time that evening, she felt hope spring forth. Then, just as she began to feel a shift, the doors burst open. A group of protesters, loud and chanting, flooded in, carrying signs and anger that rippled through the crowd. Jessie's heart sank, dread curling in her stomach. The atmosphere shifted in an instant. "They're here," she whispered, feeling a chill run down her spine. Would this be the moment everything they'd built came crashing down? Ethan's small hand squeezed hers, and the warmth ignited something inside her. With her heart pounding, she stood firm. "Together," she repeated silently, filled with both resolve and fear. And with that, Jessie found the strength to face whatever came next. But as the chants grew louder, she realized it was more than just a protest, it was a battle for their community's future. Could they rise above the chaos, or would the very act that had united them be the reason for their downfall? The chanting grew louder, drowning out Jessie's thoughts, a tidal wave of anger crashing over the fragile shoreline of her hopes. Each shout, each raised sign, felt like an assault, reverberating through her bones. She took a steadying breath, drawing strength from Ethan's grip on her hand. His little fingers felt like a lifeline in a storm. "Stay close to me," she whispered, squeezing back. He nodded, eyes wide but determined. Thompson stepped forward, his stature commanding attention. "Everyone, let us remain calm. We know why we're here," he said, voice steady and imbued with authority. Jessie felt the room stilling slightly, but it was only a brief pause before the protesters moved deeper into the space, their chants becoming an ominous backdrop to her growing dread. One protester held a bullhorn, the sharp sound cutting through the air. "These are dangerous ideas. Support our community, shut this place down." The crowd erupted, and Jessie could feel the tension crackling like static electricity. Taking a deep breath, Jessie walked forward, adrenaline coursing through her. She needed to be the face of hope, not fear. "We're here out of love," she shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. "Love for each other, for our families. This is a community where we share our struggles, where people can come together. We are not your enemy." A few faces in the crowd nodded, the murmurs of agreement mixing with the protest chants. But hostility still loomed, a thick fog that smothered the warmth of their shared connections. It was hard to push through, but she pressed on. "Let us show them what unity means," Jessie called, reaching out for those she knew had gathered here, friends and supporters alike. Before she knew it, she felt a movement beside her. Mrs. Crenshaw stood tall, holding her sign higher, a beacon amidst the confrontation. "We matter. Our voices matter," she shouted, her frail features set with determination. Power surged through the room, one by one, others joined in, chanting, "Our voices matter." A spark ignited, and Jessie's heart raced. She turned to Ethan, who lifted his small sign which read, "Love is stronger." A wave of pride filled her as she looked around. They were becoming stronger, the sense of community wrapping them all in a protective embrace against the growing storm, but still, the protesters surged forward, refusing to back down. One young man, visibly agitated, carried a sign that read, "Shut them down." He pointed an accusatory finger at Jessie, emotions flaring dangerously in a way that shook her. "You don't belong here. He yelled, his voice echoing through the center. His words cracked open fears she had tried so hard to suppress. "We do belong here." Jessie shouted back, conditioned by something deeper than fear and unwavering belief in the community she fought for. The lid on chaos threatened to burst when suddenly, from the back of the room, a voice rose above the tumult. It was one of the local teachers, Ms. Lewis. "This is about acceptance. Our children need to see a world where love triumphs over hate." That single sentence turned the tide. Her words rippled through their crowd like sunlight breaking through gray clouds. Jessie could feel the shift, could see the faces around her transforming from anxiety to resolve. Ethan tugged at her sleeve. "Mom, we can do this, right?" Jessie knelt, meeting his gaze. "Yes, we can. Together, we can make it through." With his small nod, she stood, no longer just wishing for hope but embodying it. But just as they began to chant in unison, their voices intertwining like threads becoming a strong fabric, a noise outside grew louder, a siren approaching, relentless and shrill. Jessie's heart sank. What would happen next? Would the police intervene? Could their voices still rise above the fear that threatened to envelop them all? "Stay strong," she roared, pushing back against doubt as the sirens blared on. They had something precious at stake. But in that moment, Jessie realized, beneath the tumult, a new question lingered in the air. Simmering beneath the surface was a truth that could change everything. Would they be more united in the face of adversity, or would the conflict sever their fragile bonds? The sirens screamed like wounded animals, each wail piercing through the swelling crowd. The air turned thick with tension, but amidst the uncertainty, Jessie found a core of strength she didn't know she possessed. Folks around her were stirring, hearts pounding in harmony with the rhythm of the moment. "Together, we're stronger," she called out, her voice trembling but resolute. She wasn't just speaking to the protesters outside, she was rallying her own. Every person within those walls held a piece of the power they desperately needed. Ethan squeezed her hand again, his little face lit up with a mixture of fear and bravery. "Are they really going to come in?" he asked, wide eyes scanning the entrance, where shadows danced ominously, punctuated by flashing lights. "I don't know," Jessie admitted softly, the truth hitting harder than she expected. "But we can't let that stop us. We'll stand together." Her words resonated, creating a ripple in the crowd. People started shifting, some turning toward one another, their expressions emboldened. Jessie noticed Mrs. Crenshaw, clutching her sign, eyes brimming with unshed tears but resolute as ever. The young man who had shouted earlier faltered a moment, his body language softening as he looked around. Maybe, just maybe, they were starting to see one another as human beings instead of enemies. Before the moment could settle, a loud crash echoed from the entrance, startling everyone. A group of police officers stepped in, their faces set in hardened lines. The room froze, everyone holding their breath. Would they extinguish the flickering fire of unity kindling inside? "Step back, please," one officer boomed, his hand raised, which only made the chants grow louder. "We need to clear this area." Jessie's heart raced. They had to stay firm. "This is our space. We're not going anywhere," she yelled, desperation fueling her words. As she spoke, Ethan stood taller, as if her courage ignited something in him. He lifted his sign higher, shouting along with the others. "Love is stronger." The officers exchanged confused looks, bemusement flickering across their stern expressions. The emotional weight of the situation hit the officers, the essence of a community simply asking to be accepted. One officer stepped closer, cautiously observing. "Listen," he called out, trying to quell the raucous chants. "Talk to us. Why are you all really here?" Jessie seized the moment, her voice ringing loud yet steady. "We're fighting for a place where love conquers hate. Where everyone can feel welcome, not just tolerated. Our children deserve a chance to grow up in a world that values acceptance." The room vibrated with agreement, voices cascading into harmony. The crowd pressed together, forming a united front. Jessie locked eyes with each person around her, feeling a rush of solidarity and hope. Then something unexpected happened. One of the police officers, young and visibly moved, nodded slowly. Okay. Let us hear one of you talk, just calm down for a moment. The shift in the air was palpable. A few people stepped forward, Jessie among them, heart racing but tempered with purpose. But in the chaotic beauty of that unfolding moment, Jessie felt the ache of worry creeping back. Would this spark of understanding last? What if the acceptance she saw today slipped away tomorrow? Can we stand together, not just today, but every day from now on? Jessie thought, her heart pounding with an urgent need for resolution. The sirens still wailed outside, a reminder of the battlefront just beyond their bravery. Yet within the sanctuary of that room, hope and fear danced a fragile ballet, each moment pregnant with possibility. As she looked at Ethan, his faith anchoring her, she couldn't help but wonder what lay ahead. Would today forge unbreakable bonds, or would the fragile threads of connection unravel under pressure? What would happen when the police left? Standing on the edge of uncertainty, Jessie held her breath, praying they would rise above the fray. The answer was still shrouded in the noise, like an unfinished song waiting for its melody. As the tension filled the room, Jessie took a deep breath, her mind racing with thoughts of what could happen next. Every moment felt stretched, as if time played tricks on her. Around her, the crowd shifted, anxious faces turned toward her as she stepped forward, driven by an instinct deeper than fear. "Let us tell you why we're really here," she said, her voice ringing clear through the tumult. "We are not just a group of angry protesters. We're families, friends, neighbors, people tired of being pushed aside." The police officer, still standing at the front, nodded slowly. He looked different now, less of an obstacle and more a bridge, an unexpected ally trying to find common ground. His authoritative demeanor seemed to soften a little, as if the shared humanity of the crowd unfolded before him. "Let us hear your stories," he urged gently, his tone shifting from command to curiosity. "Who wants to go first?" The silence hung heavily. Jessie felt a spark ignite inside her. Would people actually open up? Memories rushed through her, moments of pain, loss, and resilience. It was raw, unfiltered, just like the world outside. "I'll go," said a woman in her late 40s, stepping into the makeshift spotlight. Her voice trembled but gained strength as she spoke. "My son has faced harassment for being who he is. I worry about his future every single day. I just want him to feel safe." Jessie's heart clutched at the mother's pain, the sorrow evident in her eyes. The sheer weight of vulnerability washed over the room, binding them, a collective heartbeat echoing in sympathy. One by one, others stepped forward. Stories spilled out like rainwater, smooth and unyielding. A man spoke about losing his job when he came out. A teenager shared stories of bullying. Each tale was a thread, weaving an intricate tapestry of struggles and hopes. As voices mingled, the air shifted, the mood evolving. Anger was replaced by understanding. The officer listened intently, leaning in. "I didn't realize how deep this goes," he murmured, shaken by their honesty. The crowd whispered, sharing thoughts through nods and shared glances. It was comforting. Jessie felt a swell of hope. This wasn't just a moment. This was an awakening. People were becoming brave in sharing their truths, and something palpable sparked between them, a sense of connection that transcended their differences. But just as relief began to settle, a loud crash echoed from outside, jolting the crowd. Sirens blared again, more intense this time, hammering against the fragile atmosphere they had created inside. A palpable fear rippled through the unity, threatening to unravel what they had just built. What could that be? Ethan's small voice chimed in beside her, eyes wide again. Jessie felt the tension creep back into her chest, echoing the chaos outside. "We have to stay strong," she reassured, squeezing his hand tightly. "Whatever happens, we have each other." The officer's gaze turned steely once more as he moved closer to the exit. "I'll find out what's going on." "I'll be right back," he said, urgency in his voice. As he disappeared into the chaos, the uncertainty gripped Jessie's heart. Would the moment they had just shared be enough to hold them together when faced with whatever brewed beyond those walls? As murmurs of doubt rippled among the crowd, Jessie felt the weight of their collective fears pressing down on her. "Ethan," she murmured, looking down at the little boy who had stood beside her through it all. "Hold on tight." But as she glanced around to reinforce her resolve with the group, Jessie realized that the room had transformed. A newfound strength lingered in their eyes. Were they ready to face whatever storm awaited outside? Only time would tell. The moment stretched before them like a heavy fog, waiting on the edges of fear and hope, as they braced for the unknown. The noise outside intensified, drowning out the hushed whispers within the room. Jessie felt her heart race as she caught Ethan's worried gaze. She knelt down beside him, forcing a reassuring smile, but deep down, she felt an uneasy twist in her stomach. Would this moment of vulnerability turn into chaos? The officer's absence stretched their collective tension. The mingling of shared stories had created a fragile bond, but what if that bond were tested? Jessie looked around at the faces illuminated by fear and courage, a potent combination that bred both hope and dread. She couldn't let them down now. "Let us not lose what we've just built," Jessie urged, her voice steady yet warm. "We're stronger together." She took a breath, reaching into her own experiences, hoping to bring back the light. "I'm here because I believe in our shared strength. We can stand firm and face anything, side by side." Slowly, that spark caught fire again. People began to nod, their expressions shifting from confusion to determination. Lila, a young woman with bright pink hair, stepped forward. "I've been scared, really scared. But when I listened to everyone's stories I wanted to scream sometimes, but I felt less alone." Her voice grew stronger, with the heat of passion igniting her words. "If we can come together in this, we can do anything." The crowd murmured in agreement, a whirlwind of empathy and encouragement swirling among them. One by one, more stories emerged, revealing hidden layers of strength, resilience, and hope. Voices climbed in volume, echoing across the room, weaving a powerful fabric of shared experience and understanding, but outside, the chaos grew thicker. Jessie's heart sank at the sounds of shouting, the clash of feet on pavement, the blast of a distant megaphone. She glanced toward the door, her resolve shaken. What if they try to shut us down? Before she could voice that fear, the officer wrenched the door open, pushed by the seething conflict brewing outside. He leaned against the frame, panting slightly. "We have to move back, now," he warned, urgency tinging his voice. "What is happening?" Jessie demanded, the gravity of his expression weighing on her. "They're coming, they're here to disperse the crowd." But his gaze swept over those gathered. "I know this is important. You all deserve to be heard." Words tumbled together, the crowd erupting in a flurry of anxiety. Jessie's heart raced. There was no leaving now, this was their stand. "Do you hear that? They need to listen to us," she shouted over the growing noise. "We're here. We're not going anywhere until they understand." Ethan squeezed her hand tightly, his little face etched with concern but also fierce determination. It was a look Jessie recognized, the spark of bravery igniting in the heart of a child. The officer stepped back, trying to gauge the room. "We have to find a way to communicate with them, establish a dialogue," he said, looking at Jessie as if she had the answer. She realized suddenly that almost every eye was on her. The noise threatened to overwhelm, but amidst the static, she found something powerful rising from within her, a fierce willingness to make this moment count. "We can't let their fear dictate us. Let us show them we're united." Just then, another loud crash echoed from outside, sharper than before. The room fell into a hush as the tension transformed into pure anxiety, the kind that makes it hard to breathe. Could they really unite against the storm rushing toward them? The officer's mouth opened, but before he could speak, Jessie knew they had to decide, now. What would they do when the lights of power and authority shone on them? Would they break into chaos, or would they stand united, letting their voices be heard, as she waited, every heartbeat echoed in the charged air. Would this moment of reckoning forge a path to change, or would it simply shatter their newfound bond? The atmosphere in the community center was thick with tension, each exchange charged with uncertainty as Jessie stood at the forefront of what felt like a pivotal moment. The distant sounds of chaos outside merged with the heavy silence within. But as she scanned the room, she noticed the flickers of determination glowing in the faces around her. They were here, together, ready to face whatever storm brewed just beyond those doors. "Listen," she called, her voice rising amidst the unrest. "This is our moment. We will not be silenced. We came together to share our stories, our pain and our hopes. That's what makes us strong." She pointed to the gathering crowd, every pair of eyes locked onto her, united by a shared purpose. "We're here because we believe in love over fear, acceptance over hate." Each word struck a chord, resonating like a heartbeat. Ethan squeezed her hand tighter, emboldened by the spirit of bravery spreading through the room. The officer's anxious gaze swept among them, sensing the shift towards collective resolve. With a steadiness that surprised her, Jessie stepped forward, speaking directly to him. "If we're really going to be heard, we can't just stand here waiting for someone to listen. We have to show them why our voices matter." The murmurs of agreement surged through the crowd, resurrecting faith within their hearts. A wave of courage washed over the room. One by one, people began to share their stories once more. It wasn't just the pain anymore, it was filled with resilience. A father shared the fear of raising his child in a world where hate was too often celebrated. A mother recounted her struggles with stigma. As each voice emerged, the room pulsed with energy, a vibrant tapestry of lives interwoven by truth. Then, from the back, a familiar face emerged. It was Mr. Thompson, moving purposefully. "Remember," he said, his voice steady, "you have the power to change how others see us. There's strength in this unity, and we have a chance here to demonstrate that love conquers all." His words ignited a fire within the crowd, pushing any lingering doubt aside. Jessie nodded at him, the weight of his wisdom anchoring her spirit. "You all have the courage to face this," she exclaimed. "Let our strength shine brighter than the storm outside. Let us not just be heard, let us be seen as a pillar of hope for our community." Suddenly, a breakthrough happened. Mrs. Lewis, the local teacher, stepped forward with a fierce expression. "The voices of our children matter. My students need to know there's a safe space for them to thrive, without fear of judgment." Her passion radiated, igniting tears of solidarity across the room. One by one, others began to join her, calling out stories and experiences that needed an audience. Then came a thunderous noise from outside. The protesters pushed the door, throwing their shouts like stones, yet within the community center, a wall of resolve stood firm. Jessie's heart thumped loudly. They were about to face the ultimate test of unity. "Together!" Jessie cried, feeling the surge of strength enveloping her. "No matter what comes next, we face it together." The officer watched, clearly witnessing a shift. Just then, the door burst open, revealing the hostile protesters clamoring to enter. Jessie felt the collective breath of her community hitch, every fear threatening to resurface. But then, as if on cue, voices rose in unison, "We are strong. We are one." It was a wall of sound that pushed back against the encroaching tide. Jessie felt her muscles tense, the primal instinct to protect igniting the fire in her spirit. "Let us show them we'll not back down without a fight." The officer stepped forward, raising a hand to the protesters, a movement imbued with authority urging them to halt. "This is not just a protest, this is a community standing for what they believe." His voice rang clear amidst the chaos, defiant even under pressure. Jessie felt a swell of pride. They were rising together. She turned to Ethan, who was looking at her, face alight with bravery. "We can do this, Mom." He beamed with the fierceness of a warrior ready for battle. Just as the noise crested, Jessie took a deep breath. She moved toward the door where the protesters stood, gathered herself, and stepped into the fray. "Listen!" she shouted, and the crowd paused, eyes darting to her. We're not here to fight. We're here to reach out, to show that kindness and love are always stronger than hate. In that moment, Jessie felt the truth of her words resonate through the crowd. She could almost see the effect ripple through them. The protesters were no longer faceless opponents, they too had stories, struggles, wounds. She saw the humanity shining in their eyes, the confusion and raw emotion swirling just beneath the surface. As she spoke, tension began to ebb. The officer beside her shifted, gently taking a step closer to the protesters. "If we can listen to each other, maybe we can find common ground," he said, his voice a balm for frayed nerves. And as if flipping a switch, murmurs began to emerge from the protesting crowd. For the first time, uncertainty softened into curiosity. "What do you mean common ground?" One protester shouted, the edge of anger dampening ever so slightly. Jessie took a deep breath, ready to seize the moment. "We are here for our children, just like you. We want a life where every single person feels accepted and loved." Each word landed like a stone dropped into still water, widening circles of understanding flowing outwards. Time hung in the air, each second stretched taut with possibility. The tension felt fragile, yet there was an undeniable spark igniting hope amidst the hostility. Faces began to turn, some expressions transformed, softening as people leaned in. "To be safe, to be heard, to matter, it's a right for all of us," Jessie continued, her voice unwavering. "Let us rise together instead of tearing each other down." Slowly, the atmosphere shifted, breaths began to ease, and they smiled at one another, uniting in a moment where humanity flourished despite the backdrop of discord. Jessie clasped Ethan's hand tightly as he grinned back at her. It wasn't just a victory against fear, it was a shared understanding that lit the community with a warmth of hope and faith. Together, she whispered softly, infused with belief amidst the uncertainty. "We can do this." And as those words mingled with the chords of compassion, it became painfully clear this was not merely about their voices anymore, it was about merging their hearts into a movement of unity, love, and transformation that extended far beyond Maple Grove. And as they stood there, facing what may come, Jessie knew she would not back down. Together, as one, they would rise above, empowered by their shared humanity. Now is the moment to support stories like this. You need to subscribe now to never miss what happens next. You must leave a like now to help this journey reach others. Comment below and share your feelings about this uplifting ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us create a wave of change together.